Hello and welcome to the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast. You are joined by two of your usual hosts here. We've got Ben Porter.
Hello.
Hey, and myself, Josh Hartley. How are we doing, Ben?
Doing good. The heat wave that we're having in Glasgow at the moment has calmed down ever so slightly.
Mm-hmm.
It's pleasantly warm outside just now. It's actually, as of recording, it's 9:15 at night, and it is still sunny outside.
It's lovely this time of year, isn't it?
Yeah.
I say, like, we say heat wave. Like, I know we have a lot of listeners in the United States and Australia. So by heat wave we mean approaching 20 degrees Celsius.
Oh no, it was over. It was about 23. Yeah.
Tropical.
Yeah, it was
tropical.
Saharan.
I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit for American listeners. Look it up. It's depending on where in the United States you are, it's not particularly hot, but it's hot for us.
Fahrenheit's a terrible system of measurement for temperatures, by the way. Americans.
Yeah, here's the thing, like, as a chemistry graduate, I should probably know where it comes from, but I don't.
I'm not sure, but obviously Celsius is the superior system because it provides you with a scale that starts at freezing and goes to boiling. Like that's the base, like 0 to 100, and obviously you can go above or below that, but it means it provides a very clear frame of reference for everyone.
Yeah, and the system in chemistry that we used was Kelvin, which is basically the same system as Celsius, but rather than being like 0 being freezing point, 0 is absolute 0, like the coldest temperature you can get.
Yeah.
And then room temperature is 293 Kelvin, I think it is. Like I can't quite remember. 293 stick in my head. Someone in chat, like in the comments section, tell me I'm an idiot and correct me. Like, but
do you know that Kelvin is the unit that's also used to measure the color temperature of light?
Ah, there we go.
So,
I probably should know that as well, being like a graduate of a science. But
yeah, well, that's physics, right? So
yeah, in chemistry, that we touch a bit on biology and a touch on physics. The stuff we touch on physics, I was really bad at. like the biology stuff. Like I was pretty good at like what's called organic chemistry, which is like all carbon based stuff.
Yeah.
Pharmaceuticals, oils, petrochemicals, that sort of stuff. But the physics side of things, like atomic chemistry and all of that sort of side, yeah, very bad. Just couldn't wrap my head around it.
You have to do a little bit of physics for your electrical apprenticeship. It's funny because it's I think that and potentially plumbing if you're dealing with gas and things like that. You know,
yeah,
a lot of people forget, but they're vocational. They're basically applied sciences in many respects.
Yeah, well, this is it. It's like science comes up with a theory, engineers get the job done.
Yeah.
And like basically every tradesperson is an engineer to a degree, right? Like an electrician.
Except joiners.
Oh, shots fired at joiners. Yeah. They are mechanical engineers, are they not, strictly speaking?
Not the ones I've met.
Anyway, we are
sick joiner burn there.
Yeah. Sorry, joiner listeners. I wonder what that Venn diagram looks like. Do you think it's two like separate circles entirely, or do you think there's
no?
A little overlap?
I know a couple of nerdy joiners, so there may well be some listening.
All right. Well, you've Don't fight, Ben. Please. We've got some new stuff to talk about. We've got the recent Age of Sigmar reveal stuff.
Much hype.
Yeah. So we watched that last weekend. We're going to have a chat about that. There's a big thing, however, that we haven't talked about yet on the podcast. So I feel like now's the time. Warhammer Plus.
Yeah.
So, if you recall, dear listener, last year when we were watching Games Workshop previews, and they showed off a bunch of clips from some upcoming animations, and I believe one of us joked that, it'll probably come to Netflix or Amazon, but knowing Games Workshop, they'll probably create their own platform.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha. Yeah. Well. So give us the details, Ben.
So they had a preview show where they revealed Warhammer Plus, and I mean this is the other thing that's laughable, right? Is that they're calling it Warhammer Plus like Disney Plus.
What would you have called it?
Let's see, but they can't call it Warhammer TV because that's what they call their Twitch thing, right?
Yeah.
But Warhammer TV would have been a good one. Or you could call it Hammer Vision. That would be cool.
Hammer Vision. Hammer Vision.
Yeah. Anything would be better than Warhammer Plus.
The name that came to my head immediately was Hamflix, which is not a good name.
Hamflix. Oh jeez, don't know what we're in for with that. So, according to Polygon, Warhammer Plus, it is a streaming service that Games Workshop are going to be releasing. So that probably means that it will have some kind of corresponding app, which is also horrifying considering their track record with apps. But so far, they've only announced 11 titles that it'll be launching with. So yeah, I don't know how this is going to work. Maybe they're looking to integrate their streaming stuff with this app.
You'd have to think, right? How much are they charging? What's the money?
There's no costs have been revealed yet. It's set to launch in July, and it will be available as an app on smart TVs and on iOS and Android devices.
You got to think they're gonna move all their live stuff onto there, though, right? Like,
you'd think
you can't launch a subscription service with like 11 presumably relatively short animated features.
And because see, if you think about the amount of people that they bring in for their streams, granted, I was going to say granted they don't stream very often, but they stream throughout the week, don't they? Mm-hmm. So they must actually take in quite a lot of money in ad revenue. You take the kind of numbers that they must get.
Yeah, fair.
But obviously they think they're going to take more money in subscriptions, because I can't see them wanting to continue using Twitch if they want to launch their own direct service.
I don't know. That feels a bit like shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, but quite characteristic of Games Workshop the last year or so as well. So if we're being honest, right?
Yeah. I do have one caveat. Because we're mocking them for this decision. However, back in the 90s, we all thought they were crazy for setting up their own publishing arm. Yeah, and that's done pretty well for themselves.
The record label did not, though.
The record label did not. Check out our episode on Warhammer Records, by the way. That's one of our most listened to episodes. Did you know that?
Cool. I didn't know that, but that's cool.
Yeah. Check that out if you haven't. Warhammer Records, a crazy time for Games Workshop. Like, why? But there we go.
So there is a theory that I've seen bandied about, okay?
Right.
And I'm going to need a bit of time to set this up, so bear with me.
Do I need tinfoil for this?
You don't need tinfoil for it because
okay.
it's not too far-fetched, I don't think.
Okay.
So, a few years back, Space Marines got a redesign, which they launched as Primaris. But basically, it was Space Marines reimagined in true scale, right? Which is something that they never quite had. It was little things like if you go back and look at old Space Marine sculpts, they don't quite anatomically make sense.
They stand as tall as Imperial Guardsmen.
Yeah.
Which they're not supposed to be. So.
And it's things like they don't have knee pads on their armour, so it's like how do their legs bend, things like that. So they got a redesign so that although they are like 8 foot tall super soldiers, the rules of anatomy apply.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you look at it and you think, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
They've also done the same thing with Stormcast Eternals for Dominion, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the episode, more in depth, in that they've moved away from the sort of blocky World of Warcraft paladin type aesthetic they had before with the huge pauldrons, and they're sleeker in design, and the proportions again are more coherent with the rules of anatomy. Down to the fact that a lot of people don't realise, but like actual plate armour was very fitted to your form. It wasn't like huge and bulky, so they just look like they make more sense. Why am I saying all of that? So Tyler Mengel, who's quite prominent in the Warhammer community, he's a very good painter, produces a lot of really simple, clean, but really nice painting guides. And he's also a Golden Demon winner. He put up a tweet saying that he thinks that the reason that both the Space Marines and the Stormcast Eternals have had this redesign is to make them easier to animate.
Oh.
And to make them easier to draw. So on and so forth. So what basically all of this, if you add that together with Warhammer Plus, I think that Games Workshop have got their sights set on making Warhammer akin to Marvel Cinematic Universe type IP.
We are assuming a lot of competence in Games Workshop in that. I'm just going to put that comment out there.
I didn't say that they were going to be successful, but that's what they're trying to do. Whether or not they can actually do that is
so do you think that's... Do you buy into the theory?
Yes.
Okay. I will need to... I need to digest this. I need to think about this.
No one's asking you to invest, man. It's just a theory.
I'm just like I'm trying to do. You know, when someone presents you with a new idea, you think about it, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm just doing that. Because I just assumed that the Primaris I always assumed actually the Primaris Marines were just a redesign of the Space Marine, and they decided to make them Primaris because people would buy them if it was a new thing rather than just a redesign of an old thing.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I don't think that this was like the primary objective of this thing. I think it was
right.
And if we do this,
okay,
could, also opens these avenues up to us, and I think I think that given that they are partnering with Marvel to do comics now, I think that they've got their sights set on making the Warhammer universe as iconic as some of these other fictional universes that we've seen.
I'm gonna go on the record here. I would say that Warhammer is pretty damn iconic already. Like, particularly if you think of, like, across, like, the various different various different game systems, like, the Space Marine is pretty iconic to Warhammer, right?
Definitely.
I think you could show a Space Marine to Joe Bloggs on the street, and a good proportion of them would recognise, oh, that's a Space Marine.
Yeah.
Right? So I suppose good on them for having their sights set higher. Do you know what baffles me is actually the amount of money they make off their IP. And I think that gets overlooked a lot, particularly when we talk about Warhammer and Games Workshop, we talk about, like, the gaming and the miniatures and the painting and all of that. The IP itself, I think the IP accounts for something like a third of their income or something crazy like that. Like, just licensing it out to, like, video games and whatever.
It is massive. Yeah, and I don't think people within the hobby quite grasp the reach it has without. I can actually remember going into a customer's house. I was doing some work there, and I saw that the guy had a load of Black Library books, and I was like, "Oh, are you into Warhammer?" He said, "Oh, I just read the books."
Right.
So, and I know a few guys that have played the video games that don't collect the models or anything as well.
I would say as well, like, as far as, like, fictional universes go, they have to be, like, some of the most fleshed out there. Like,
decades
both Age of Sigmar, Old World, and Warhammer 40k, in terms of content, is up there with the likes of Star Trek and Star Wars, right? In terms of, like, just how much stuff has been created for it.
But I mean, they're definitely up there as, like, in terms of just, like, the span of years that have been spent on them. There's some of the some of the fictional universes that I think the most amount of man hours must have been spent on.
Yeah. Maybe it doesn't reflect necessarily on quality, although there's a lot of good stuff there. But
yeah, it's a lot of good stuff, but there's a lot of weird stuff.
But yeah. So when does Warhammer Plus hit our internets again? Did you say it was July?
Yeah, I think that it's just. I think it is just. Oh no, sorry. So apparently there's another announcement coming in June 23rd.
Oh.
I think the aim is that Warhammer Plus is going to launch in July. And like Charlotte was saying the other day when we were talking about dates, expect that to be the end of July, if anything.
Yes.
If anyone ever gives a month, they're being very optimistic, because usually mean the end of the month or the month after that. It won't be. Don't expect, like, 4th of July Warhammer Plus launch celebrations or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, watch this space, guys, and we'll keep you updated on on the news and our thoughts and feelings on the matter. However, on similar Games Workshop news, we've had a big reveal of the. I don't think we can call them starter sets anymore. The box set for Age of Sigmar, 3rd edition.
Well, it's the launch set, because if they do the same thing they did with 40k, they'll spearhead the release with this launch box, and then they'll have the permanent fixture of the 3 different sizes of starter sets.
Yeah. Which is a great way of doing it, frankly.
Yeah, I think so.
So, we had the reveal stream last weekend. What are your thoughts, Ben?
I love it. I think it looks fantastic, and to be honest, like, I know there'll be people that disagree with me. There always are. But for me, the fact that they didn't reveal anything of the Cruel Boys up until the stream, and like for me, they actually exceeded my expectations. They're a lot cooler than I thought they were going to be.
Yes, they are the... So, if you haven't seen it, the two factions are Stormcast Eternal versus Cruel Boys, which are a new band of greenskin destruction faction. A mix of like orcs and hobgoblins and the like. And they look quite different to our previous greenskins as well.
Yeah, so the grots and orcs, as they call them in Age of Sigmar, were basically fantastical reflections of their 40k counterparts, and that, you know, you had the big brutish orcs, which look great, by the way. You know, for Age of Sigmar, they're called Iron Jaws, and they're in heavy plate armor, and they hit like a ton of bricks, but are very cowardly as well. Which I think is quite fitting for orcs. You know, they run away when they're faced with a fight they don't think they can win, or when the leader gets killed.
Yeah.
But the Cruel Boys, first of all, the Cruel Boys do feel like they fit with all the green skins that we currently have in the range. But it feels as though there's a lot more depth to that corner of Age of Sigmar, because for one, they don't all just look like little copies of each other. The within that range, they're all different shapes and sizes and silhouettes, which is awesome to see. And I think, like we both said as well, they do feel as if they're leaning into... Sorry, it's my son there.
Hi, Nathaniel. I might leave that in.
Just doing his Tarzan routine.
Yeah. I think we're good. No?
No, he's laughing.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
There we go, just carry on, man.
Here's Mum whispering to him. Yeah, so the Cruel Boys, we had said they seem to lean a little bit more towards the sort of token style of orc, or at least token according to Peter Jackson, Alan Lee, John Howe.
Yeah.
That sort of vision. That you know, I guess like the sort of Middle Earth.
They
look like IP.
They look like sculpts that could fit in with like the Middle Earth stuff. Frankly, that Games Workshop do, and that is not a bad thing by any stretch at all. They look great.
They feel a bit darker in tone to the orcs we're used to seeing as well, because the as much as orcs are very violent, they've got that sort of lovable oafishness to them. Whereas the Cruel Boys, the new orcs, they feel sinister.
They look nasty.
Yeah, but in a cool way.
Yeah. And I think it's great. I think I like that across like the different systems, we're getting like the different interpretations of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I personally love like the sort of orcs in 40k being like the comic relief faction for that setting. Like just this is where we put all the dumb stuff that we want in the universe.
Because everything is already so dark in 40k, so I think it is good to have
you
that.
need a bit of colour to it. And that colour is green. Like,
whereas, there are some pretty dark factions in Age of Sigmar, but I think there's a clearer delineation between good and evil within the mortal realms than there is in 40k.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So...
It's got a little murkier, at least, in Age of Sigmar compared to the old world.
Yeah, I think particularly with the Stormcast Eternals, right? There's some... there's been
They do some pretty questionable things.
Yeah, because they're being stripped of their humanity as they get reforged, so... But, I mean, that being said, as much as people like to kid on that Sigmar is like the God Emperor of mankind...
Mm-hmm.
He is, to all intents and purposes, a benevolent deity. He's not evil. He's made mistakes, but he is fighting on the side of order and the side of good. It's not one of these things like, you can... Actually, if you think about it, Slaanesh is not a bad guy. It's not it's not one of those things that... that people can... Slaanesh is evil, everyone, okay? Just in case that wasn't clear.
All of the Chaos Gods are.
Yes, Chaos is bad, okay?
Chaos is bad. And depending on which system you're in, everything else is bad as well.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
Yeah. So, in summary, the Cruel Boys look incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And because the funny thing is, like, a lot of the time when one of these box sets come out, what happens is you find a pal and you chat about who's getting what in the box set. But honestly, I think I'm just going to keep everything in my box.
Yeah, nice.
Because I already collect Stormcast, and I really love the new sleeker, almost Greek hoplite style design of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I really want to keep the Cruel Boys as well, I think.
Yeah. On the note of the Stormcast, I am... So, to be fair, I don't plan on collecting either of these factions. I'm not going to pick up the box. But of the two factions, the Cruel Boys, I look at them and I go, they're awesome, like them. More of that, please. I think I said to you on a previous episode, I do struggle to get excited about Stormcast. And it's not because like they're bad sculpts. I like the design wise they look nice. I just something isn't ironically like there's just something not quite sparking with me.
That's a personal versus a general criticism, right? Because like you've just said, they're good sculpts, but they're just it's like me with anything with elves in it. And, there's people losing their minds over the Lumineth Realm Lords, and I'm just sitting
just
at the
like
side,
stinking elves.
Yeah, show us some Fire Slayers, then we'll talk.
Yeah.
So I think that's totally fine, and I think we've talked at length many times about personal versus general criticism and the fact that a lot of people aren't able to separate the two. And you can acknowledge that something is good,
but just not for you.
You can acknowledge that something is excellent and has been very well done, but it's just not to your taste. So
I will say, out of all the Stormcast stuff, the centerpiece model, the character model with the big angel wings, can't remember her name. Sorry, Rasta. She looks excellent. She's just like peak, like sort of. And again, I said it when Indomitus came out last year, but like kids nowadays have no idea how good they have it. Like the risk of sounding like my parents, but it's true because back in the 90s, we'd have our box set.
Back in my day.
And we'd have our Saurus, they were all identical. Our Skinks, they were all identical. Our Bretonian Archers, and our Knights of the Realm. And they were all...
when they used to give you your box sets and rolled up newspaper.
Aye, yes. Yeah, and you could eat the newspaper. But yeah, geez, oh. Like, they are getting much... Like, I thought with Indomitus, they kind of like, yes, you have killed this. You've like, this is 10 out of 10. I'd say Dominion's the same. Dominion's like, yeah, you've nailed it. This is great. This is a fantastic like product for people who are into the hobby already and someone who wants to get into it. Like, this is a great thing to dive into.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the big quibble everyone has about this is its availability.
I will say, at least they've acknowledged that it's going to be limited.
Yeah, and
unlike previous products.
But the thing, a lot of people have lost their minds even over that thing, and it's like, look, it's a good product. It's exciting. It's great to have if you can get it. I'm going to try and get it. I'm not going to be tearing my hair out and pouring lighter fuel over models if I don't get it. Because the fact of the matter is, as we've seen from Indomitus, the stuff is all going to be available and repackaged and other things. Maybe you don't get all the nice stuff for that great price, but you'll still be able to pick up a box set. The kits will all be available. Just calm down, okay?
We've already seen that with Curse City as well, because you can pick up all of the undead stuff for that.
I think they're holding back on the heroes probably until the other side of the new edition, I think, because if the rumour mill is to be believed, and it has been very accurate of late, apparently Cities of Sigmar are getting a big release at some point with a lot of new kits and a lot of reworks, and if that is the case, that is when you would want to release those models, right?
Mr. Mannering might want to hold off on buying his Cities of Sigmar army then.
Yeah, apparently they're getting new kits and everything.
Alright, nice. That'll be cool. I think like that faction definitely deserves some love, and certainly in our experience of playing Age of Sigmar Soulbound, that's the sort of environment we play in a lot, and I love it as well.
Yeah.
We should talk... Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think rather than it just being like the dregs of everything that was left over from Order from Warhammer Fantasy, it'd be good to make it to actually go, no, right, this is what a city in the Age of Sigmar looks like. And to give them a bit of love.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right, yeah. I think maybe on that note, shall we call it an evening, and we'll catch up with our listeners next time.
Sure.
Cool.
Nice succinct episode for you.
Yeah. Well, anyway, guys, as always, thank you very much for listening. Until next time, take care. Bye.
Bye.